And if you could just introduce yourself.
I play keyboards in Alice.
My name is Anna Maria, and I am the founder and vocalist in the band Vajra.
What was the initial start?
Yeah, so we all have pretty storied histories.
I was just bored during COVID. Did a little demo, put it out, and it was pretty well received by the community. And
always had a thing for horror punk and stuff.
Something that started with me and a laptop during quarantine, and just like, oh yeah, you know, all those times I said, if only I didn't have to work my job all the time, and now it's like I could have time to do that. Well, now this is that.
All right, we're back once again, and today I have a special guest. Would you mind please introducing yourself to the fine folks at home?
Hey, I'm Ryan with Boogeyman.
Right on. And today I am very hyped because we're doing a special episode of Heartfelt News. We are talking about an upcoming release that is going to be happening this Friday, correct?
That's right.
Hell yeah. All right. So let's talk about it. The album is Rotten Leaves by the Boogeyman. I'll show it one more time to the audience right there. Okay. And it has some killer songs on it. Like I'm just going down the list on here from right from the get. My Eyes, Old Ghost, Save Me. Save Me, it has been up on the Bandcamp, I believe, and Spotify for a while. And I have nothing but praise for this album. Like I have easily listened to it like 30, 40 times. I love every track on it. And when I was talking about it earlier in the What's in the Box episode that I made. And after having a chance to kind of go through and listen to it, I have so much to say, but let's focus on what you have to say about the album. How did this all come about? Like, what was the initial start for this album and this project?
This album and this project was never to be. Boogeyman started as really kind of, I don't know, we had one song. Jason and I had a band at the time, and it wasn't a metal song. It was definitely like a 3-chord kind of pop punk sort of number. But I said, hey, let's go ahead and record something. And that became our first album. But after that, we weren't planning on doing anything else. But Jason really pushed for it. Jason really pushed to do a second album and to also like create the live band and everything else. And for me, it was a hard no. It's like, nope, we're not going to do it. Nope, nope, nope. And then one day, and I was like, what the hell? Why not? And so I sat down and wrote the first song, The Leaves Are Falling. And then I wrote, I think, like 2 or 3 more songs. I didn't tell Jason. I recorded myself here at home, and then I sent them over to him by Dropbox. He records his tracks, send them back. That's how we demo things. And so that's kind of how it came to be. It was the idea of the first album to leave it open-ended, just in case we wanted to do more. And it came to be that we did. And doing the second album, not to give away too much, I guess, opened the floodgates for so much more. It's stupid, really, how much I have at this point after the second album. So, and that's stuff that I really look forward to as well. Cool thing about the second album is it was written at a time when before the first album was really even out and about. So it certainly belongs to that time and era. And I feel like it's a nice transition from kind of the easier, simpler stuff into the progressive, more darker nature of the second album as the story unfolds and comes to its conclusion. And so, yeah, that's it.
Well, speaking on that, there is a noticeable shift. Like I have, I believe, 3 releases. Because you guys sent me your first album, and I believe there was another either EP or single that also ended up over here with me as well. And I've been a fan of you guys since I heard you all on Dan's compilation of We Are Horror Records. And when I heard you guys, I was like, Dan, what's this band? I found you guys on Bandcamp. I went and listened, and I loved that first album. It has a real, how do I say this? It has a real, like you said, 3-chord punk. It's almost like it's like Bad Religion as a as a horror punk band in a lot of ways, but like not a carbon copy clone. I don't mean it like that. I
Out of
just
here.
mean that like I just mean that like it's a similar like energy or vibe to it, that kind of skate punk, faster kind of beats
Oh,
and
yeah.
melodies and stuff. But there was also experimentation on that. You guys had the harmonica solo on some of the songs, and there
Mhm.
was organs and stuff all throughout, your different releases. But
Oh, yeah.
hearing this album, it feels like a time and a place that was right, because you have the first album that you guys released that has that kind of higher energy output, but then
Mm.
these songs kind of capitalize on that higher energy output. And I at least I feel that the songwriting, it's not that one is better than the other, because that's not even what I would say.
Mhm.
It's
Sure.
that it's a different style of songwriting that still feels like the Boogeyman. Like
Good.
it's still very much you all. It's just like you were saying, it's a more progressive kind of take on it. I think the songwriting, there's some like slower songs, some songs with more, I don't want to say complexity to like the structure, because that's not true, but it's more of like it's more of a good feel. Like this, if that's more like your 90s skate punk kind of vibe, this is
Sure.
more like heading into, I want to say, like more traditional punk, or more even like 90s pop punk kind of style. Like both of those
Sure.
things kind of blended together, but with a dark twist. I mean, like there is a moodiness to some of these songs and a vibe to some of these songs that it has its peaks and valleys all throughout the albums. Save Me is definitely a high peak, right? Like it's the high energy, it's the like the major chords and all of that all throughout the
A
song.
happy song.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And then, but there are other songs on it where it brings it so low, and there's like a slower tempo and a slower feel. And I think that was masterfully done. Just as an aside for the audience at home, in case you're interesting, this is a master class, I believe, in like songwriting and dynamics and things like that. Definitely worth checking out. Anyways, so let's talk a little bit. Also, there was one other thing I wanted to mention now that I'm thinking about it. There is a guitar solo on here that I can't remember the song off the top of my head, but it is absolutely killer. And it's like an almost like an old school rock and roll, or like almost kind of country. I'm not quite sure where to put it,
I
but it
wonder
is a
which one.
strong solo.
You're gonna have to let me know later.
Yeah,
Because all
yeah.
the solos here with Boogeyman, solos are decidedly I don't know, they're not flashy, they're not in your face. It's not like the our previous band, Iron
Oh no.
Maiden, like infused metal, real
Mm.
harmonized leads and that sort of thing. No, I really try to downplay it anymore. I really just try to feel the song
Mm.
at this point. And it's definitely not something that just comes out right away. Some are
Mm.
so simple that I'm just like, oh God, Doyle would be proud, and so, what can you do?
For sure, for sure. Well, no, it's definitely like it's very tastefully done, and I'll let you know. I'll find it, and I'll let you know after we do the recording. But yeah, it's very tastefully done, and like just overall, I like the direction of this album. I don't know if there's going to be anything else going forward or not, or whatever. We're not here to discuss that. We're here to focus on what's in front of us. But what I will say is that this is a killer album. Like I said, I've listened to it easily like 30 times already since I've gotten it, and it is by far one of my favorite records that I have bought in this year. And there have been a lot of good records. I'm thinking just off the label you're on right now, the Pumpkin Guts putting out their album earlier this year.
Absolutely.
That is a fantastic masterclass in pop punk writing. Just beautiful, like in general, and again with that spooky kind of horror punk twist. And then I purchased, I know it didn't come out this year, but I purchased Evelyn's Casket's first album, and I would easily put these three albums yeah, there it is. I would
Represent.
easily put those three albums as my three favorite albums that I've bought in this year. fourth album I want to put up there in like in the ranking is from Rise from Your Grave. I just want to shout out Tom, as always. Love Rise from Your Grave. His album that he put out, and I'm blanking on its name right now. I'm so sorry, Tom. It was absolutely fantastic, and it also had those strong elements of the pop punk, but also it had the heaviness, and it, can go in all these directions. And I just, I don't know. I'm so happy to be jumping into this scene at this time where there are so many talented artists, such as yourself and Tom and you know the people at Pumpkin Guts and Evelyn's Casket. All of these bands are just fantastic right now. Whether they're on the same label or not, I don't have a dog in that fight personally, but
Sure.
uh, but I love seeing like the creativity in all of you. So let's talk a little bit about your favorite tracks. I know every artist says that all of their songs are their babies on one level, but on this particular album, what would you say was your favorite song that when you heard it, you're like, that's got to go on?
Well, it is tough to say. Really for a variety of reasons, and that's because each of these songs are a little more diverse than the first album, and so kind of like we said earlier, not everything on this album is punk rock. I really aspire towards just regular rock when it comes to some of these things. I'm big Pat Benatar fan. I like that sort of stuff. I like those sort of song arrangements and everything else. And so in order to, in my mind, paint, I don't know, a pretty picture of everything, I needed to write things in a multitude of keys and scales and whatnot to evoke the sort of feelings that I want.
Mm.
It's hard for me to say because, I really like the pop punk nature of where this all began. But the one that I think really probably does it for me is probably Communion in the Wind.
Mm.
And that is because that is really like, in my mind, the talisman of the second album. Talisman was kind of like the big climax of the first album. Um, Communion in the Wind is the climax of this one. But the way we started out the first album, and this is important, we started out with a song called Eulogy. And Eulogy is really what we call in the story the Devil's Song.
Mm.
And the Devil's Song is what our protagonist sings to essentially send on the spirits from this world onto the next. And in writing Communion in the Wind, I was able to take those chords and that melody and put it onto the end in like the grand climax of it all. I'm actually playing the Devil Song at the very end of Communion in the Wind. And so now I'm bookended from the beginning and then to the end. My alpha and omega are here. And so that made me happy, you
That is
know.
so cool. I
You
love
know,
that. I love that
because
kind of
at that point
interconnectivity.
it was there, it was in, and now it was galvanized.
Mm.
And then we had kind of the song after kind of taking a page from I think some movies where you have the big climatic part, but then you have the kind of like the slow out of the aftermath, I suppose, a little bit.
Hmm.
And so, but yeah, it's been quite a go. Judging from the singles, it seems like Superstition is probably the number one favorite right now. But I really feel on this album, even more so than the first, there's a lot going on. Probably a little bit there for everyone. Some stuff that's maybe a little more Misfits-ish or Bad
Mm.
Religion, or maybe even AFI. But we grew up on skate punk. All of us are skate punk rockers, essentially. Just attracted to the darkness,
Mm.
whatever reason that may be. But yeah, it's been a good go, but there's certainly more to come. But I will
Mm.
say this, I think this is the end of the story, though, as far as this chapter. But I think we will continue with the sort of story narrative that we have been doing, and
Mm.
everything will belong in sort of the same world here. But only time will tell.
For sure, for sure. Well, let's let the audience at home, if they want to know where they can go to purchase a physical copy, or if they want to do a digital download, whatever they want to do, where are the best places to go to get your music?
Definitely Bandcamp. It's right there. I think got some orders in earlier today, so that's great. Bandcamp's the best spot, but if you come to our Facebook page, which I think is Boogeyman 623, it's all there. That's where I run everything out of, for better or worse. Old Facebook, goddamn. But what can you do? But yeah, Bandcamp, hit it up. Facebook, hit it up. It's everywhere.
All right. Well, you heard it here. I just want to say thank you for coming on to our show today. I really appreciate it. And to the audience at home, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, do the notification, all that YouTube stuff. And yeah, I just want to say thank you again for coming on. And to the audience, thank you. And I hope you guys buy this album. It is a killer album. Let's show it one more time. It's right there. We got Boogeyman, Rotten Leaves. I'm sure that's backwards on the camera. But anyways, thank you for being on, and you have a great day.
Thanks, Will.